Hi everyone, it's Nicolette from the End of Life Care, and on today's RCS Expert we have a lovely financial advisor and planner, and her name is Karyn Nimmo. So welcome, Karyn. How are you today?
I'm well, thank you. How are you?
Good. Yes, very good. So let's start. Can you just tell us a little bit about what you offer as a financial advisor and planner and what sort of your services are?
Well, as a financial advisor, there's a huge range of services actually, starting from anyone first starting out in the workforce needing a super fund to growing families needing to sort out their finances and insurances, then on to planning for retirement and beyond, looking after their income streams and dealing with Centrelink. And I also help with insurances from starting them up to going through their claims process with them if they need it.
Okay, so when you talk about insurances, you're talking about life insurances that people might be needing?
Yeah, so there's life, disability, trauma cover and income protection insurances.
Yeah.
That's generally what I deal with. The house and car and that sort of thing are dealt with a general insurance advisor, which is different from my role.
Okay. So then I guess with those insurances, if somebody dies, they all have components where people can make claims on the insurance. Is that right?
Oh, absolutely. I do a lot of work with cancer patients, and I help them with claims for terminal illness benefits as well. Quite often they've unfortunately been told that they don't have that long to go, and anyone that's got less than 2 years to live has a claim against their life insurance policy, so that can be really helpful for their family and peace of mind to know their family's looked after before they actually do pass away.
Oh, great. So they can access some of that money to help them out in that time when they might not have income or have a lot of medical bills and things like that happening.
Yeah. I mean, especially if they've got a mortgage sitting there and, they don't want to leave their family knowing that there's this big debt over their head. If they can get that sorted out, it really does give them peace and relief, I think. And they can just enjoy their time with their family and not be stressed.
Yeah, not have that financial burden hanging over them, which is a huge stress for a lot of people most of the time, let alone when you're struggling with, an illness and the grief and all that comes with, a life-limiting situation, I guess.
Yeah.
And I know we've spoken before, and that's part of the reason why I wanted to talk to you today, and that was about funeral bonds, because in a lot of my workshops and when I'm doing funeral planning with people, a lot of people are aware of the prepaid funeral plans, which are advertised heavily on television and radio, and even funeral insurances, but I've not heard much about funeral bonds, so I'd love to know more about what they are and what they entail, and I think it'd be great for people to have an understanding so they know they have another option that they can choose rather than buying into one of these prepaid plans or insurances. So if you could enlighten us all, that would be fabulous.
Great. A funeral bond is an investment, basically. So it's investing a sum of money to cover your funeral into a fixed interest style fund. They generally pay a bit more than the cash rate, so the money sits there growing, and it can't actually be accessed until that person who has taken out the policy passes away. Sorry, I've just gone blank.
That's okay.
I'm reading my notes.
That's all right.
So there's lots of advantages to a funeral bond. You don't necessarily have to go with a specific funeral provider at the time. So, some people do want their funeral planned down to the T, and that's fine. They can prepay a funeral. But if they really don't care who their family chooses, a funeral bond's a really good option. It is capital guaranteed, so it can never go backwards. We've all seen what the financial crisis did to us with our super funds and whatnot, but this, that won't happen. there's no restrictions when you take it out, as in your health or your age ability. So as long as you've invested in it, it doesn't matter who you are or what you do. You can pretty much put into a bond however much you want, but generally you put an estimate of what you think your funeral might cost. It's really favourable for Centrelink assessment. So you can invest up to $12,500 for each person, and Centrelink don't count it towards the assets or income tests. So I have used it quite a bit with clients that just need a little bit more in their age pension income. Like they might have a lump sum of cash sitting there, but that's deemed as an asset. If you put it in a funeral bond, it's still an asset, but it's not counted at all. So it gives them a bit more Centrelink age pension. So it can mean up to $975 a year per age pension recipient, which is great for them.
Fantastic. Yeah, it's good to know.
And it's called tax paid. So at the end, when the family needs to claim on it, there's no tax payable on those funds. So a lot of managed funds have a capital gains component, but this style of fund doesn't. So you know exactly what you've invested, and whatever interest it's earned over the years, that's what your family will receive.
Great. That's good. So so when somebody dies, then is it easy to access that fairly quickly so that they can plan the funeral? And how does that work?
Yeah, so it's just a matter of making a claim to the company that you invest in. And generally, unless there's mitigating circumstances, I guess, generally that's paid out within 7 days. It will be paid direct to the funeral director if you've elected one, and if there's any balance outstanding, that'll be paid to the estate.
Okay. So
and funeral directors are willing to wait that period of time. They understand that people have taken out these style of products, so they're happy to wait for that.
Okay, yep. So they know they're used to dealing with funeral bonds and know that they're going to get their money, so they're not
hassling
hassling
the family for their money.
I know they usually give you at least a week's grace anyway, or 2 weeks, so it's not too bad. So and so then if there is money left over, then that goes into the estate, so the family don't get it in cash or anything, it just goes
straight to the estate to be dealt with as per their will, if there's one in place.
Okay, that's great. I guess that I know. Well, how would that differ to doing it into a bank account? I guess banks stop you from being able to get money out, don't they, once somebody dies?
Banks will release up to $10,000 to enable you to pay for a funeral if the money's in the account. I guess banks are deemed by Centrelink, so there's no favourable benefit by having it in the bank, and interest rates at the moment are really rubbish. So and you also have a risk that maybe somehow there's someone in the family that you don't trust that might be able to access those funds somehow. It's a bit of security, I guess.
Having it in a bond rather than sitting in the bank, and
because whoever's accessing it has to show, ID, and it just can't be anyone in the family accessing it.
So it's really a secure place and making it easily accessible, and is easy for everyone in a sense.
It is easy. They're easy to take out as an investment as compared to other investments I've done. And it's easy to claim on, and it's just peace of mind, I think.
And I like that then you're not tied to one funeral home, because what if that funeral home goes out of business? I mean, I don't know what happens.
And that's happened.
Oh, has it?
That has
people
happened.
Lose their plans, do they, once?
If they've taken out plans direct with the funeral company, and that funeral company might be one of the smaller ones, or I mean, even big companies go bust, there's and a lot of them are owned by the same big company, so
I can't see them going bust anytime soon. They don't care. They're making good profit. But I guess that's it. Like you say, every business is at risk of, and that would be the same, I guess, with an insurance a funeral insurance policy, you would be at a similar sort of risk, I imagine.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't heard of people losing the benefits from the insurance policy unless there comes a time where they can't afford to pay it anymore.
Yeah.
And then everything they've paid up to that point's gone.
Right.
So it's, that it is purely insurance. It's paying, like you insure your house.
Yeah.
If you don't pay the premium, you don't get the cover.
Yeah. Yeah.
So this is a lump sum financial investment. Not everyone can afford a lump sum investment, but for those that can, it's a really effective way to do it.
So can you add to it, or is it just that you have to have that chunk of money and put it in at one time?
No, you can add to it, yeah.
Okay. And what would be the minimum then that somebody would need to start to put in?
Off the top of my head, I don't think there is a minimum, but if there is, it would probably be around $1,000.
Okay.
I'd have to look in any particular product disclosure statement to find that information.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, anything you put away helps your family at the end, doesn't it? So
yeah. So I'm just thinking, I had a question the other day at a seminar I was giving, and that woman was a low income earner, and that was her question, was how much, I've only got, I think she only had $500 or $1,000 in the bank. Was that enough then to put into a funeral bond to get her started, that then she could, add to as she could afford, or, on a weekly basis, or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, I would, I'm not 100% sure on that, but I could certainly find that out, and I can type it in the comments later.
Yeah, that would be great. Just
I'll let you know.
So people, I guess, so that, it's not putting people off thinking they have to find 10 grand to plonk in an account or whatever, so yeah.
I mean, I've got clients that they sort of started at $5,000 each.
Yep.
And that's grown over the years. So by the time their family actually needs to access it, hopefully it's enough to pay for their funeral.
Yeah. That's great. And it is then that peace of mind that it's there, they're not, trying to find that money at the time, because who knows when we're going to die, and it doesn't always happen at a time when we're flush with money, or, I've heard of a lot of people getting into financial, stress, or having to go into debt to pay for a funeral. So I guess that's why it's good to have these products available, so that people do have that peace of mind and aren't worried about it when it happens.
And there's also funeral bonds are pretty much targeted at the older generation. They don't have to be, anybody can take them out. But for, people still working, if they've got super funds and insurances in those, most super funds will release up to $10,000 as well to help quickly to help to help pay for funeral expenses and stuff like that too.
I didn't know that.
Not all of them, but a lot will. So there's other ways to get faster access and having to wait for probate and all of that sort of thing.
Yeah. Well, that's good to know. I didn't realise that was something you could do, or that super funds allowed you to do. You have to have super to first.
I guess so, yeah.
You don't always have super, if you've been self-employed, or
no.
It's a bit different too if you've got a job, but so that's good to know as well, that's another option if need be. Yeah, I guess it just depends on the family situation at the time and who's paying for it and what you have. Well, that's great.
Yeah. I mean, it does help the family if they have a financial planner, or if the person they're looking after the estate of had a financial planner.
Yeah.
I mean, I always recommend that's the first point of, well, not the first point of call, but it's one of the first points of call, because a person like me or someone else could help them, deal with where can we access those funds, and what's the best way.
So that's
and to be a go-between between the claims.
Do that for the family and help them, and
absolutely
bring up, and the questions to ask, and how to deal with the superannuation people and the insurance people.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's really good to be a support for them when they need it most, I guess. It's not all about signing them up for the product. It's about dealing with it at the end and supporting them.
That's fantastic, because I know in those times and everyone's just so overwhelmed and emotional and got enough going on with decision making, let alone having to think, ringing up,
it's
dealing with insurance companies and getting the, if you don't, sometimes with those things, if you don't ask the right question, you just get the runaround, and it can be quite frustrating.
Oh, that's right.
Good to know that someone like you to be that advocate for them. That would be really helpful.
Yeah, and it's nice to put that little stress away, push it aside and let someone else deal with it.
No, that's fantastic. What a great service you offer. Don't think I've ever been to a financial advisor or that, so I might have to come and see you too.
You might.
Get on board. So,
well, I'm happy to come down and see you.
Yes, you can come down and have a cuppa. I think we'd end up chatting more than doing anything else. That's the problem. But yes,
I get that a lot.
Do you? So you do travel a little bit, because I know you're north of the river in Perth.
No, absolutely. I often come down to Rockingham area.
Wow.
Out to Thornley or Gosnells, Armidale areas. Out to Whoop Whoop.
I know there is a lot of Whoop Whoop in Perth now, especially north of the rivers. Whoop Whoop to me.
It is.
Are out there now. So, that's fantastic. So you
so I don't mind driving. I find it quite relaxing and time to switch off. So
and that's great to know. So I will put your details, your website and your email address and phone number up so that people can contact you if they'd like to have a chat. And so you're happy to just have a chat to see what they need to start with before they need to come and see you.
Yeah, so generally, even my initial appointment with someone, I don't charge for that, because I might not need to help them with anything. They might be set, which is great for them. So, I'm not going to charge them an hourly rate just to sit down and have a chat and a cup of coffee. But then if they need any work done, we discuss all the fees and everything before I do anything and proceed with anything. So they know exactly where they're at, and I know where I'm at.
Yeah, that's great. So it's almost like a no obligation consult to start with, and fantastic. Well, wonderful. Well, thank you for coming on board today, and I'll point everyone in the right direction. So please, everyone, go and see Karyn, and she's lovely, and she'll help you out. And especially, that was great to answer a lot of my questions about funeral bonds and a lot of other people's. That was good to hear and to have that made clear. So thank you.
Thank you for having me.
No worries. Thanks, Karyn.